Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Horsepower Obsessed. Today, we're gonna do a video that I'm sure all of you are gonna love to see, and that's gonna be 5 things I hate about my 2019 Corvette ZR1. Before we start, I just wanted to take a moment to thank Hyperion for sponsoring today's video. Hyperion is an interesting company that actually reached out to show me what their product can do. It's one of those things that you don't really give a lot of thought to, but it's basically an RFID blocking pouch for your key fob that prevents a different kind of automotive theft. Without getting too technical, it basically blocks the frequency from your key fob to your car, and it will stop thieves from stealing said frequency to gain access to your car without actually having the fob. This is a risk that is growing day by day, and it's easy to prevent. Whether you're at home or traveling, all you have to do is just stick the key fob in this pouch when you're not in the car, and it will prevent the signal from being stolen. I'm gonna go ahead and put my key fob in here and then try to start my car, and I'll show you just how much it blocks that frequency. I go ahead and seal it back up, and let's see if we can get the car to start. So as you can see there, it is telling me no remote is detected. Meanwhile, that remote is sitting right here in this pouch. The car is not able to detect it at all. Now, this is exactly what this thing's supposed to do, and it's cheap and easy insurance. If you're interested in learning more or getting one for yourself, click the link in the description down below, and you can also save 40% off the purchase price. Like I said, cheap insurance. All right, guys, so I'm sure you guys have all seen these kind of videos before. And I'm gonna start this one out with the same thing that I start out all of the videos that I do like this with, and that is I can dislike or hate things about this car without it affecting the way I feel about the car. Obviously, I purchased it because here it is. These items are really just things that I would have changed if I could at the manufacturer level for the car. So certain things would have been different if I had a hand in making the car. Since I didn't, I'm allowed to dislike or hate some things about it without hating the entire package. I'm only saying this because I know a couple people out there are gonna post and be like, oh, just sell it or trade it in. That's not what I wanna do. I love this car, but there are little things I don't like about it. And that's why I wanted to do a video like this, because in order for me to share my ownership experience, I have to actually tell you what I don't like about the car, because it's not perfect. No car out there is. For me, this is as close to perfect as I can get without spending millions upon millions of dollars on a Koenigsegg. So without further ado, the list. Number 1 is gonna actually be the front carbon ceramic rotor size. I know a lot of you guys are out there thinking, well, what's this guy mean? I mean, the rotors on this car are perfection, basically. And they really are. They look fantastic in there. The stopping power is unbelievable. But the biggest problem for me is the front ones are so big that even though they offer fantastic braking capability, no dust, they look fantastic inside of the actual wheel, there is almost no clearance between the caliper and the barrel of the wheel on the inside. By itself, that's not a problem, because from a distance, it fills up that wheel real nice and it looks fantastic. But I actually caught a rock in there. What I mean is basically a rock jumped up in there at some point while I was driving and got lodged between the caliper and the actual barrel of the wheel. So it carved out a nice, beautiful silver ring inside my brand new wheels on this 2019 Corvette ZR1. Not really the best feeling in the world, but take a look at this thing, guys. I mean, it's so perfect. It almost looks like it's supposed to be there. So whenever I first noticed it while I was washing the car one day, I had to actually go over to the driver's side and make sure that that wasn't there. But sure enough, it wasn't, and that is a damaged wheel now. So I actually took off the lug nuts here, pulled off the wheel, and up at the top of the caliper here, there's a nice rock scrape, and some of the paint was removed. So I know there was definitely a rock in there, and that's definitely what caused this. The weird part for me is I never heard any of it. I never felt any of it. The rock jumped up in there, carved out a ring, and got kicked out. And I never even knew it until a couple days later. But just for comparison's sake, check out the driver's side here, just so you guys are on the same page as I was. That ring does not exist on the driver's side wheel, nor does it exist on any of the rest of the wheels on the car, on the back or anywhere else. So the carbon ceramics are something that look fantastic in there. They're very functional. They create no brake dust. Everything about them is good, but the size of these calipers, I mean, you could see there is just almost no clearance in there. If I had to actually accurately measure that, I would say it's millimeters between that caliper and the actual barrel of the wheel. So number 2 is actually part of the ZTK package. Obviously, I chose the ZR1 with the ZTK package, but the number 2 thing on this list is actually going to be the big wing. Believe it or not, I hate the big wing, and there's only one reason, and that is cargo space. So as you can see here, whenever I lift the rear hatch, there is almost no room right there. So that by itself is kind of tight. If you stuck your finger in there while lifting the hatch, you're gonna be hurting, there's no doubt about it. But the big thing for me is when you open it, as you can see, the wing doesn't move. So it limits the ability to put cargo in here. I actually have a lawn chair type thing that I carry around for car shows. And during a car show, if I go to get in here to take this out, you have to be really careful pulling that thing out over top of this $5,000 carbon fiber wing to make sure you're not skidding it along it. And it's more difficult than it sounds. With a car like this, you're always really careful with things like that anyway, but you have to be extra careful to get anything over the top of this. For the most part, I try to put everything in from the side of the car, but some things have to actually go from the back and over the actual wing and in. And this wing is freaking massive. I mean, not only just how high it stands off, but how thick it is. It makes it hard to get over this and into the trunk. Now, number 3 is actually going to be the front grills. So if we look at the front of this car, you can see Chevrolet opened up all of the grills in the front to really give this car as much cooling as possible. Now, while that's freaking awesome, it also kind of sucks because they opened up those grills so much that anything off the road gets in there. I recently cleaned the car, so there's not a real good example of what I mean, but basically right in here, you can see back in the grill there's a couple leaves stuck in there and some bugs. When I wash the car, I actually use a Master Blaster air dryer, which is 8 horsepower of filtered heated air. And usually if I use my pressure washer in there and then take the Master Blaster and stick the hose right here, it will actually blow the leaves back out because the bottom part here is open. These grills are also so wide open that bugs get in here and they basically cook onto that radiator in there. There's none in there right now, but if you actually talk to D. Anthony over at D's Rides, he can vouch for me because at Carlisle, those things were so loaded with bugs. It was ridiculous. I didn't even have any idea how to get them out of there. Aside from removing the front bumper, I couldn't think of a way to get them out. So basically what I ended up doing was pressure washing the car, and then once those bugs were wet, hitting it with that Master Blaster again and blowing them out slowly but surely. It really makes it tough to have a car with such performance and those grills so open, everything gets trapped in there. Leaves, bugs, rocks. I mean, these side canards over here trap rocks like it's going out of style. And this one on the passenger side right here, as you can see, actually already has a leaf stuck in there. So it's like, when it comes to detailing, you are constantly picking things out of this front grille. Now, number 4 is actually going to be the rock chips that happen in the rear quarter panels right here. As you guys know, I do have the car clear broad and ceramic coated for the most part, and the quarter panels as well as the rocker panels are one of the parts of the car that I do have clear broad, and it's a good thing because if you look at this paint in this area, you can see there are still chips in it. Do you see all those? Now, luckily for me, those are actually in the clear bra. So when the time comes, I can pull off this piece of clear bra, put on a new one, and the paint underneath is unaffected. But if I did not have clear bra on this car, that would be chips in the paint and that would basically need repainted. This is very disappointing for me because I really thought that with the ZR1 having the wider front fenders and the fact that I have XL rock guards on there, that would not happen, or at least wouldn't happen very often. And it seems like it's happening just as much as it did on my red Z06, and that car did not have clear bra on it. So basically, at the end of the day, if I didn't have clear bra on this car, I'd be pulling that panel off, taking it to a body shop, and having it all repainted. I think that's freaking terrible. All right, so number 5, the 5th and final thing that I hate about this car, and that's gonna be the hood. I love the way this hood looks. It's functional, it's carbon fiber, but that's part of the problem. So when we pop the hood, we come up to it and it's extremely easy to lift because the hood is very light. So I could basically lift it with my pinky finger. Now that's where the problem is. Number 5 is going to be this hood being too light. It's so light that it's actually hard to close. So because the car is black, you don't exactly want to go sticking fingerprints all over it. I don't want to really touch the paint to close this. And the way I used to do it with my Z06 is I would actually just put my finger right around here and then pull, and it would close on its own. This one is so much lighter because of that hole cut out and because it's all carbon fiber that I can't do that anymore. If I pull it from right there, I can't even get it to close hard enough to actually latch. So I have to touch the outside of the paint and actually slam it a lot harder than I'd like to get it to close because it's so unbelievably light. What I wanted to do here is make sure that this list was specific to the ZR1 and not just the C7. Because with my Z06, I actually made a list of 5 things I dislike, and I'll actually link that up at the top right, about the C7 in general. And I didn't want this to be the same video. I wanted this to be 5 things specific to the ZR1 that I didn't like. Attempt 1 at closing this hood. Okay, I swear that doesn't happen very often. Apparently I just haven't perfected my method. Either way, the hood is very light and it's difficult to close. All right, guys, so that's gonna do it for today's video. Like I said, I absolutely freaking love this car. I mean, this thing is so menacing looking. It's so fun to drive. It's so planted when driving it spiritedly. I can't say enough how fantastic this car is. But at the same time, just like I said, as with anything in life, nothing is perfect. So there are things I dislike or hate about this car that I wish I could change. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it does not change the way I feel about this car. I freaking love this thing, and it is an absolute beast. So don't think this list means I'm going to be selling this thing anytime soon. I'm hanging on to this car for quite some time. And just like I've said before, regardless of the fact that there are things I hate about this car, I cannot even imagine how Chevy is going to beat this thing. The new C8 coming out, once that thing gets to a ZR1 version, it's going to be a complete absolute monster in order to beat this thing, because this is a monster. But anyway, guys, if you liked what you saw, give me a big thumbs up. If you have any questions about anything we talked about here today, shoot them in the comment section down below, or send me an email, horse.power.obsessed@gmail.com, and we can definitely discuss them. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't yet, guys. I have a ton of C7 and C8 Corvette content coming, and you're not going to want to miss it. As always, guys, I'll catch you in the next one.